everybody. Mayor Jane here for our Wednesday Facebook Live. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in and to get updated on what's going on in our community. And there is so much going on in our community. We'll start out with a Go Bolts. For those of you who aren't in the know, Tampa Bay Lightning just won in overtime, put the Columbus Blue Jackets out of the scene, 5-4. So we're very, very excited about that. But equally, if not more excited about our guest today. We're going to talk about the census today. And we have Marilyn Stevens here with us, who is going to provide us with information on a very, very critical issue. So before we get to Marilyn, I'm going to give some information, an update about COVID-19, and just some more information associated with it. As you know, I always give case updates. These numbers are incredible to really comprehend from when we started. 34,851 total cases in Hillsborough County, including 508 deaths. I don't know why I'm fixated on the number 48, but I remember when 48 was almost like a punch in the face, that it was just such an incredible number of lives lost in Hillsborough County, and now we are over 500. 508, each one of those numbers represents an individual, represents someone's loved one, someone's friend, someone's neighbor. And so that's, again, why we work hard every day to reduce the number of deaths from this virus, and also to learn all we can and make as many advances as we can in the diagnosis and the treatment of COVID-19. Florida, there's 584,047 total cases with 10,067 deaths. In Hillsborough County, we have had 260,574 people tested so far. And I am happy to announce that our positivity rate is down to 7.93. And that has been going down gradually. As many of you may recall, when the bars opened up, we had a huge spike in the positive cases in the age bracket 25 to 34, but really it was 21 to early 30s. And so we have slowly been bringing those numbers back down. Unfortunately, you've heard me, I've interviewed Addison Davis, our school superintendent, and talked to him also about the opening of schools and how to do that safely. And we unfortunately have seen, I moved my sons into college, one into UCF, the other into Florida Gulf Coast for their senior years. And we've seen, since college has started at the beginning of the week, we've seen spikes around the nation in COVID-19 as well. And so we may have to rethink how we're bringing students together in our community to ensure that we don't have a spike in those number of in cases in our local schools here as well. Lift Up Local has been extended to the end of this month, to August 31st. And we're going to allow restaurants to have the parklets and tents. If they have a parking lot that they can erect a tent in and do it safely, then they can do that, so that they'll be able to serve more customers and hopefully lift their bottom line. Just trying to help everybody out. And we are continuing with our assistance grants, or not grants, just assistance giveaways. So please go to tampagov.net. We have everything that you need to know about COVID-19 on there. And there's also some of the relief information, things that you can apply for on there if you have a small business. So we're coming to the end of that. So please do that. There's also information on there about Hillsborough County's programs. Hillsborough County, as many of you are aware, received the CARES funding for the entire county, including Tampa, Plant City, and Temple Terrace. Fortunately, we have a great working relationship with Hillsborough County. And so the links to their programs, relief programs, are on there as well. So make sure residents, small businesses, make sure you're on there and you're looking at how you can get relief due to COVID-19. Um, the testing has dropped the number of tests, so we'll encourage everybody again to go and get tested. There's a lot of new approach to COVID-19 that are being looked at, including the pool testing, the antibody testing, and then there are a couple of other tests that are being talked about. An instantaneous test is something that's being explored as well, so that individuals, if they were young kids going to school, could be tested before they went to school every day. So there's a price tag associated with all of that, but we're trying to make as many advances as we can, not only in our city, but in the nation as well. So very, very important. If you didn't vote yesterday, shame on you. We only had 24% of residents in the Tampa Bay area that went out. I should say less than 25 that went out and voted. And people have given their lives for the right to vote. So everyone should vote and let your voice be heard. We have new representatives, new school board members, new judges, new commissioners, a new tax collector. We have a new clerk of the court. We've got a lot of new people that are coming into office. So this is a very, very exciting time. And then we're pushing forward to the November election. So again, you have to make sure that your voice is heard. It is critically important, just as important as taking the census and ensuring that you are being counted. So let's introduce our guest. As I said, our guest today is Marilyn Stevens, Assistant Regional Census Manager for Census 2020. In November of 2016, Marilyn was promoted to this position. In this capacity, she will manage the community engagement and partnership program throughout the region. Moreover, she will meet with and serve as the agency's liaison to the region's 7 governors. That's a big region. The Atlanta region is responsible for census operations in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, and South Carolina. She's one of the most requested Census Bureau speakers. All right. To date, she has facilitated more than 800 workshops and presentations across the country. Miami, Florida native, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in marketing. So thank you so much for taking time out of, I know what is a very busy day, to join us here today and to talk about the census and to inform our viewers and then answer some questions. So let's start with, what is the census and what is the purpose of the census?
Thank you, Mayor Castor. And first of all, I want to thank you for being just a very active, supportive, and aggressive 2020 census partner. So we're going to put you in a copy machine.
All right.
And spread you throughout the state. Most people wonder, what is the census? Because we only hear about it once every 10 years. And some folks say, I can barely remember what happened last week. And now you're asking me to remember what happened 10 years ago. The primary reason we conduct a census is for apportionment, to determine how many seats each state gets in Congress. Well, every state would like to have all 435 seats, but it doesn't quite work that way. So it depends on your population. Florida was fortunate last census and gained 2 additional seats. So the more seats you have, the bigger the state's voice and the wider the pipeline of resources. But to those of us in the community, we look at the resources end of the census, the $675 billion that are allocated annually, $7 trillion over the decade. And most of us don't realize that the things that we value every day, those funding formulas are heavily dependent on these population statistics. And someone said to me, well, then, for instance, I said infrastructure.
Yes. Highway
construction and planning. We all want great roads, especially my tires on my car. I said, and then you think about it, here we are in a pandemic, and healthcare is top of mind like it has never been before. And when you talked about the funding you're getting to manage the pandemic, in those funding formulas are the population statistics. So the question is, as we continue to manage this pandemic, as we continue to have to rebuild after the pandemic, will our numbers support our needs?
Mhm.
We're in a back to school mode right now. I mean, parents, grandparents, nieces, people who don't have children are talking about getting the kids back to school and how are we going to do that virtually or in the classroom. Well, the schools depend on lots of funding. And when the numbers of children don't support their needs, then they have a shortfall. Um, Everybody was excited that the schools were able to provide food even though they had to close. But guess what?
Yeah.
They're getting funded for those student nutritional programs based on these population statistics. The Title I grants, the special education grants. Wow, let's not forget about early Head Start and the Head Start programs or services for seniors. How about unemployment benefits? Uh, Other social services such as the SNAP, the WIC program, affordable housing, services for veterans, everything that we hold near and dear, more than 140 programs. What makes the difference in the funding formula are population statistics, not who we think was there, but who the numbers really say was there.
Mhm. Yep, that is critically important. And as I talked just earlier about the CARES funding, the CARES funding went to any locality that had 500,000 in population or above. Well, there's only 38 cities in the
Yes.
United States that have a population. So basically, what you're saying is all of the federal money that comes to jurisdiction, whether it's a city, a county, or a state, the vast majority of that is determined by the population. And
Right,
so,
and the census resets the number. Like
mm-hmm,
a number of, we have a number of those mayors in our big region, and I had to explain to them, do you know that if the census shows that your number falls below 500,000, that's going to be a reset. And they said, what? I said,
yeah,
yes, the census resets the number. So
mm-hmm,
as we go through the decade, we have to all ask our question. We get this once a decade opportunity to ensure that we get our fair share of resources for our communities. Everyone counts in a census.
mm-hmm,
Everybody says, "What about the age?" Oh, we don't care about every from zero to infinity.
mm-hmm.
Um, we don't care about your culture. We don't care about your racial background, your ethnic background. We don't care about your citizenship status. We don't care if you're documented, undocumented. There's only one requirement to participate in the census, just one: breathing on U.S. soil on April 1st. That's the
There you
only
go.
thing that we need to know.
Awesome. I like it. And then also you think about the way that our state is growing and really your entire region, all the states that I just mentioned. And a lot of people don't uh, realize or have forgotten since they were in school that the congressional representation is capped at 435. And so some states will actually lose
Yes.
their representation while we gain representation if we count our residents appropriately. Yes.
Yes, yeah, there's winners and losers. And one high school student asked me, Ms. Stevens, tell me two things that will define a census. I said power and money. And the student said, "Oh, okay, you have our attention."
There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect. So let's talk about the deadline for the census and how it's been extended and how the pandemic has changed the way that I mean you used to send out volunteers knocking on doors, calling how the pandemic has affected the census both in the deadline and then how you're getting people informed in this day of COVID-19.
Well, we started. Most people think that the way we conduct a census is that we come to your house, sit in the living room, or sit on the front porch with the family, sip lemonade and iced tea, and collect the information. The last time we conducted a census using that method was in 1950. In
Um,
1960, we started self response. We send the questionnaire to the door, and we urge the households over about a 6-week period to send the questionnaire back to us. Then, after a reasonable length of time, then we have to follow up with the households that did not respond. And what I mean by that is we have to account for every household in the nation in a census. So let's say if 40% sent their questionnaires back, then we've got to knock on 60% of those doors to secure those interviews.
Wow.
So here we are in the 21st century. And for the first time in history, we had three ways to self-respond: online, by phone, and by mail. First time in history. And we started that on March 12th. Well, everyone knows that about March 15th, with the pandemic, we basically had to shut down the country.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some places like in Tampa, in some high rises, we actually hand delivered the questionnaires and hung the packages on the doors. Most in Tampa received the mailings from us.
Uh-huh.
But when those that had to be hand delivered, we had to suspend that because that was considered a field operation.
Mm-hmm.
So we suspended all field operations on March 15th and did not resume them in the state of Florida until May the 11th. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, most of the households that had received the notification to either go online or call a toll-free number, and some households actually received the paper questionnaire first. So we've been urging those people to self-respond to the census. So then we had to move the timeline back because originally we would have been completed on July 31st.
Mm-hmm.
So the timeline had to be moved back because there are a lot of operations in a census that most people don't hear about. So on August the 11th, we started the next phase. This is the first time we had 5 months to self-respond before we started knocking on doors. So on August the 11th, we looked at all the addresses that had not responded based on what our system told us. And we dispatched our staff. That's all the people that were applying for these census jobs. Many of them are in training now and be hitting the field in a few days.
Oh.
But yes, so we're still training people every day. I think 4,000 in training today, and every day it's going to be that way. And yes, they'll be hitting the field. So they're knocking on doors and not responding.
I filled mine out.
Mine too. They better not come to my house.
Yeah,
so here we are. We're knocking on doors. And so people said, how do we know that they are real census workers knocking on these doors? Well, they will have on a mask. It's mandatory while they're on duty. Of course, they carry their hand sanitizer. They must practice social distancing, so they must be at least 6 feet away from the respondent. They must conduct the interview outside of that home. They will have a photo ID, their handheld device that they will be using to record the information will have the insignia of the Census Bureau and the Department of Commerce. They will have a census bag. We have talked with the governor's office, provided them with the information so that the police chiefs will know to look out for our staff that are out in the field. Now, let's say that you are not at home. Oh, let's say you don't open your door. They're going to leave a notice of visit card. And that one side is going to be in English and one side will be in Spanish. And they will say that we came by to take your interview for the 2020 census, and it states the law. But then it says, but you can self-respond within the next 2 days by going to my2020census.gov or dialing 1-844-330-2020. And there's a different number on the back for Spanish speakers. Mm-hmm. And then if you do that within the next 2 days, then we will not come back to your household.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, a couple of things, because I'm a former police officer. So no census worker would ever ask to come in your house.
No.
Okay. So, those are the kind of things, because we know whenever there's an opportunity, sometimes there are individuals that would take advantage. And let's talk a little bit further about that, because I was in my neighborhood Publix the other day, and I was talking to a young woman, the cashier, and I asked her if she had filled out her census. I'm going to expect a part-time paycheck,
yes,
okay, because I'm doing a job now. But she said, oh, I got that information, she said, but I just thought it was a scam. And so do you have, individuals that are coming, if they come to your door, they're going to have the appropriate identification, they're going to stay 6 feet away, they never ask to come inside your house, and you can go online and fill it out. So
right,
people need
you
to
can
know that this is not a scam. We need your information.
Right. And they and somebody asked me, say, well, if they're going to leave a notice of visit card, can I just tell them, no, I don't want to do the interview in person? Can they just give me the notice of visit card? I said, yes, you can say that. But remember, their job is to secure the interview.
Mhm.
And I said, and remember, census data is secure.
Yes.
All census employees under Title 13 of the United States Code have lifetime sworn status. They cannot reveal anything that will identify you or your family members with information you provide to us. There is a stiff penalty of 5 years imprisonment and or a $250,000 fine per infraction.
Wow.
The law further states that no entity, no agency can get your information. No law enforcement, Mayor Castor,
Mhm,
no
right.
police, no FBI, no CIA, no IRS, no ICE, no other immigration agency cannot be subpoenaed by the courts, cannot be guided by the president, definitely cannot be guided by me. And then Title 44 states that census data is sealed for 72 years. So the last time we released anything that would tell all your business was a 1940 census. We released that in 2012. And in 2022, we will release the 1950 census.
Wow. Both of which were right. There we go. So let's talk about how easy it is and really what questions. That was another thing too. I had my little Publix posse by the time I left. I had them all rounded up talking to everybody about doing the census. And another thing too is how easy it is. The questions. I mean, it is everybody's busy these days, and it really the number of questions that are asked are minimal at best.
Yes.
Who's in the house?
Yes.
Yes, what the relationship they are. And I think really the only question that could even be considered pressing is if you own your home or not. So how about you run
Right.
through what the questions are?
Right. There are only about 6 subjects on there. We ask, of course, we ask for your name. We ask how many people are living in the house, and then we give you some instructions for some people not to include in your count. Let's say if someone, your member of your family is incarcerated, don't include them. Your college students they will be counted where they go to school. The people that are in nursing homes, we will count them in our group quarters enumeration. So we do list some people that you should not include in your count. And then we ask, what is your birth? If you're online, we ask what is your birth date. When you put in your birth date, it will automatically populate your age as of April the 1st. And then we ask if there's anybody else in the house besides you. Okay, we ask everybody, are they Spanish, Hispanic, or Latino? And people say, why do you ask that? Because the law requires that we do. And my family asked, well, what are they asking that? I said, well, I'll tell you this. We're not Hispanic, Spanish, or Latino. So you take the first option, no, and go to the race question. So it doesn't apply to us.
Makes it easy.
But right, but in Florida, we have, of course, 1 in every 5 persons, is of Hispanic origin. So they're going to ask the question if they are of Mexican heritage, Cubans, Puerto Ricans. There's a list, and then it says other. And then you can put the country of origin, whether it's Guatemala or Honduras or Dominican, and whatever it is, you can put Colombian, put in that space. Then you go to the race question. What is your racial identification? We know that most Hispanics identify with being white. So they can check white and they can still put country of origin. For the first time in history, under race, you will be able to put country of origin. So we'll get a look at the white diaspora, the people that classify themselves as Italian, German, Polish, Russian, whatever. The black, for the first time, you can put it Haitian, Jamaican, Honduran, Nigerian, Somali, all those. So we'll get a look for the first time in a census at these diasporas. This is different. Then we ask about other people in the household. When they answer those same questions for them, they'll have an extra question. What is your relationship to the person completing the questionnaire? That's person 1. For the first time, we have 16 options. It'll say opposite sex, husband, wife, spouse, opposite sex, unmarried partner, same sex, husband, wife, spouse, same sex, unmarried partner. Then it'll go biological son or daughter, adopted son or daughter, son-in-law, and daughter-in-law, mother-in-law, father-in-law. I mean, every in-law you can think of,
In-laws and outlaws.
I mean, it's like 16 different options. I said, wow, I didn't realize you could have so many different relationships.
Hopefully
So
they're not all 16 options are being checked. That'd be way too many.
right. I don't think the system will let you do that. Now, the people on paper, that may be another situation. So,
Yeah.
so now we're going to get a look at how the family has changed over time. And then that's it. And let me tell you how easy it is. Mayor, I get a call one day. I don't know how the person got my number. The staff would not fess up. And the person said, are you the census lady? So I thought somebody was playing a joke. I said, yes, I am. He said, well, something's wrong with your website. I said, really? And so I was on the site. I said, it's working for me. He says, not for me. So after the 10th try, and I said, if you don't mind, give me your email address. When I realized that it's not a joke. And I said, I will email you the link. So I did. And so he said, I can see it on my phone, but my eyes are not great. So I want to do it on my computer. He said, okay, I have it. So I said, hit start questionnaire. He did. He put his name in. I said, do you live alone? He said, no. There are 4 people who live with me. I said, well, you will need their name and their birth dates. He said, I have all of that. So he put his name in. And when he put his birth date in, I said, put your birth date in. He screamed. I said, sir, are you okay? And he said, wow, this machine is really, really smart. It knows my age, 92. And I'm thinking,
Woo!
92?
Wow.
And I'm thinking, wow. And so he completed the questionnaire. And then we get to the end, it says you can go back and correct anything or check it over. And then we went back and he said, everything's correct. So he submitted it and he said, wow. He said, that was fast. He said, that's less than 7 minutes. Can I do it again? I said, no, once is enough. Trust me, once is enough. So he said, and look at this. And you guys gave me a confirmation. I said, yes, thank you for doing the 2020 census, completing it. And you got a confirmation number. Your address is on it. I told him, I said, I printed mine out, put my picture on it, put it in the frame as a historical document. He said, wow, that's a good idea. He said, when my granddaughter, they let me out of my house, I'm going to go and have some copies made. And I'm going to put my picture on them and put them in frames for them because I may not be around for the 2030 census.
Well, you know what? He could fill it out again when he's 102.
That's right. He said to me, I have a tip for you all. He said, give him this recommendation. Ditch the paper. This online thing is where it's at.
Oh, how cute is it? This internet thing is going to catch on. I'm telling you right now. How funny is that? That is absolutely perfect. Now, gosh, I was just going to ask a question about him. Oh, filling that out. So again, I mean, literally, it takes you a matter of minutes, 5 to 7 minutes.
Yes.
And you are done with it. So it is so simple to do. And it's critically important that we have everybody on there. So what can we do? What can I do? What can the rest of the community do to get the word out? Especially, we have a very large Hispanic population,
yes,
African American population. We have a lot of individuals that are immigrants that may feel like, as you said before, this information isn't being given to anyone.
Right.
We just need to have an accurate count.
Right. And one of the things with our immigrant populations, and even our minority populations, must be assured of 2 things: that their information is safe and secure, and that the programs that they value the most will be adversely affected if they don't participate in this census.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And yes, and I think that those are the 2 things that we have to disseminate. And we really want everybody that you talk with to tell them that once they complete it, to make a list of 10 people they know. Call their circle of 10. Call them up and say, have you completed the 2020 census? It's really important to us. And if 4 of them say, yes, I have, then you need to replace it with 4 people. Then ask them to develop a circle of 10. And I think that if each of us can reach 10 people, that will make the difference.
That's a great idea. Good. Now, what's the average like for us? Our indications are that about 60% of our citizens have filled out the census. So
yeah,
what are the projections for individuals filling it out? And do you see like some of the same voter apathy, or do you feel that since you've made it so simple through the internet, that more people will fill it out?
Well, one of the things is that the census has to compete Everybody's talking about the election, and we're talking about the census.
Hmm.
Because the census does, someone said, does the census have anything to do with voting? I said, oh, does it ever? I said, because next year, when the states get those numbers, they're going to start redrawing not only congressional districts and
Hmm.
state house districts and state senate districts, but they're going to also, some city and county districts may be redrawn, as well as voting districts.
Hmm.
And most people did not realize that the census numbers impact voting districts. I said, when you look at Congress and you see all the minority members in Congress, each of them will tell you that they owe that district to the census.
There you go.
That's how important it is. They owe that to the census. So what can we all do? Because people want to know, what is the deadline, Marilyn? Somebody call me every day, Marilyn, when's the deadline? I said, the deadline is today.
That's right. That's
I
right.
said it
Don't
takes
wait.
take less than 10 minutes to ensure that your community gets the resources it needs over the next 10 years. The
Hmm.
deadline is today. Now we will complete the field operation by the end of September, but we have people in the field right now. We've been in the field a week, knocking on doors of that 40% of the households. Remember, this is a population and a housing census. So we have all the addresses for every household in Tampa. So 60% of those households have responded.
Hmm.
40% have not self-responded. In order to get to the 100, we have to follow up the 100% of the households. So we will come to your home. We may come twice in one day. We will leave a notice, a visit card there that's in English and Spanish. After the third attempt, then we will attempt to contact you by phone. We will also go to getting a proxy interview about you at a neighbor's house or a building manager. We can do that in a census because we account for the households. And some people say, well, my neighbors don't know me. I said, trust me. When my mother was alive, we came to her house, unfortunately, in the 2000 census to ask her about the neighbors that participated. First, she was upset that they had not participated. Then she got her journal. She had a
Well,
dossier on everybody in the subdivision. Because she gave monetary gifts for birthdays and anniversaries, they
no.
invited her for Johnny's birthday party. And
Yeah.
because she was an educator, she went home and put in her book so she wouldn't forget the next year. So she's got his birth date. Because
Excellent.
you gave Johnny a good gift, you invited her to your anniversary. So she knows, and your birthday. So she knows your birthdays and she put
Yeah.
them down in her book too. Your mother-in-law came to move in, and because you ignored her, and my mother was retired, she invited mother-in-law over, and they had coffee. And she told her all the business. So when
Told
the
you all the
enumerator
business.
came, mother knew everybody in the household better than you did who lived
That's
there, and was
hilarious.
more accurate. So
That's awesome.
self-respond today.
There you go. Well, that's perfect. I can't think of a better ending than that right there. And I will continue to be an advocate, and I will call 10 people, and I will continue and continue and continue because it is critically important. So remember, everybody, fill out that census. Literally, it took me like 5 minutes. So go on, fill it out. That information won't be shared with anyone, and it really is going to determine the funding that we get as a community, and then how loudly our voice is heard in Washington, D.C. So critically important. Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. I really appreciate it. I know you are incredibly busy, but certainly taking your time out to help us and to help that 92-year-old get his application filled out as well. So much appreciated. So remember, everyone, um, if you have any questions, anything at all, please visit the website for the census, and it is,
My2020census.gov.
there you go, my2020census.gov. And if you can't remember things like me, you just go in and Google Census 2020 and it takes you right to the website. So make sure that you do that today. Don't put it off so you forget. Do that today. If you have any questions, any information at all that you need to know about COVID-19, go to our website, tampagov.net. We have all the information that you need there, including links to Hillsborough County to sign up for some of the CARES relief programs and to get information on that as well. So as always, thanks again for joining us today. I know you have a lot of things that you could be doing. So we appreciate you being here. And remember, stay calm, stay safe, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away from others, and wear a mask. Thank you all. Thank you, Marilyn. Really appreciate it.